Today, we are more familiar with manipulation than inspiration. Manipulation is so normal in our modern day society that we subconsciously think this is the way to do things. Even as children, we've used the "I'll be your best friend" manipulation in order to get what we want from fellow kids. Sales, promotions, advertising, marketing, those are all versions of manipulation. And there's a reason for this. Whether it's immoral or not, manipulation works. Manipulation executed by companies and brands can be divided into different categories: price and promotions, fear and aspiration, peer pressure and novelty. Before we continue, we at Self-Improvement are on a journey to become the best possible versions of ourselves. We encourage you to join us on this journey by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell down below. Price and promotions. Price is like drugs. Once the body gets used to higher doses of a drug, it needs more stimulation to get the same effect. The same counts for sales based on price. Once the consumer gets used to lower prices, it becomes almost impossible to let them buy something for a higher price. For the last century, General Motors has been dominant in its market selling vehicles. New competition has made that goal harder to maintain in the last 50 years, but GM has been able to maintain its price dominance. However, since the 1990s, Japanese car manufacturer Toyota has doubled in shares while GM's market shares have been dropping. In early 2008, the unthinkable happened. US consumers bought more foreign-made cars than those made in America. Faced with this onslaught by Japanese competition, GM and other vehicle dealers in the US have scrambled to offer incentives, aimed at helping them hold to their dropping market share. Heavily promoted with advertising, GM has offered cashback incentives of between $500 and $7,000 who bought their cars and trucks. For a long time, the promotions worked and GM sales were on the rise again. But in the long term, the promotions have only decreased GM's profit margins. In 2007, GM lost $729 per vehicle sold, mainly because of the cashback incentives. Realizing that the model is unsustainable, GM announced it would reduce the amount of cashback incentives. With that reduction, sales plummeted. They are left with no cash and no customers. The car industry has actively created cashback junkies out of customers, building an expectation that there is no such thing as full price. Rebates is another example that even created its own term called breakage, a promotion that requires the customer to perform some kind of action that is often too complicated or too time-consuming, such as filling out a survey or sending something through physical mail. Companies rely on that percentage of consumers that fail to redeem their rebates, since those people have paid the full price without any actual benefit. Whether it's 2 for 1 or toy inside, promotions are such common manipulations that we often forget that we are getting manipulated in the first place. Fear and aspiration. Real or perceived fear is the most powerful form of manipulation there is. If someone would try to rob a bank using a toy pistol, he or she would be charged for armed robbery. It is not about the actual threat that exists, but the thought that there might be a threat that induces fear. When someone is in fear, the rational brain almost completely shuts off. It is an emotion that instinctively drives us to survive. It cannot be simply wiped away by facts and figures. Think about terrorism, for example. It is not the statistical probability that one can get hurt by a terrorist, but rather the fear that it might happen that cripples a population. If it comes to statistics, the likelihood of a coconut falling from a palm tree fatally hitting you on the head while you're on a tropical vacation in Hawaii or something is greater than the likelihood of you being hurt by a terrorist. Parents use fear to raise their children. If they be caught smoking or doing drugs, there are huge consequences that follow. But once the chance of being caught is not present, the manipulation by fear no longer works. You can use fear to get someone to obey a rule when they can get caught, but it requires inspiration to get them to follow it even when nobody watches. Fear is also regularly used in advertising. If you don't do something, something bad might happen to you, like get your life insurance before it's too late from an insurance company, or every 30 seconds someone dies from a heart attack from a local cardiac specialist. Advertisements like these can also go the other way around. If you do this, something good might happen to you. Manipulation out of aspiration. Advertisements that tempt you with the things you don't have but want to have, or to be the person we wish we were, usually by offering you to buy something to shorten this process. Although they are positive in nature, they work the best on people who lack the discipline or have a nagging fear or insecurity that they don't have the ability themselves to achieve their dreams on their own. Get rich in 6 short weeks, or a 6-pack in 30 days. Works well on those who don't have the discipline, but those who are already living a disciplined lifestyle don't really get tempted by these ads. You can use aspiration to get someone to get a gym membership, but it requires inspiration to get them to go to the gym. Most company managers are always drawn to cheaper options over the better long-term solution. Just like the habitual dieter, they never have the time or money to do it right the first time, but they always seem to have the time and money to do it again. Peer pressure. Peer pressure as manipulation works well because we often believe that the majority or professionals might know more than we do, and that a product or service is better because of that. 4 out of 5 dentists before tried it, states a chewing gum advertisement in an attempt to get you to try their product. If the product is good enough for professionals, it's good enough for you, states an advertisement from Exxon. With over 1 million sales and counting, teases another ad. Celebrity endorsements are often used in a sales pitch. If a celebrity uses it, it must be good, is what we would think. Celebrity endorsements are also used to appeal our aspirations and desires to be like them. Tiger Woods has put Nike on the market for golfers. He was also paid to promote a brand of watches, designed especially for the golfer. The watch can withstand a shock, a level of shock that's more likely experienced by the golf ball rather than the golfer. But then again, Tiger Woods endorsed it, so it must be good. Often salespeople come to pitch their product or service to help boost customers. 70% of your competitors are using our service. But what if 70% of the competitors are all idiots? The peer pressure is only designed to do one thing, to pressure you to buy, because otherwise you might be missing out on something. If your friends start eating laundry detergent, would you do that? Sadly, the Tide Pod Challenge got teens all over the world to actually do it. Novelty. Motorola introduced their latest innovation to the ultra-competitive mobile market. A mobile phone with a camera. The combination of metals such as aircraft-grade aluminum with new advances such as an internal antenna and a chemically edged keypad with a device that measures just 13.5mm thin. And it worked. Millions of people rushed to the store to buy one. Celebrities flashed their razors all over the red carpet. Sales over 50 million units. Not many people could argue that Razr wasn't a huge success for Motorola. By surpassing the current mobile expectations, the Razr represents Motorola's history of delivering revolutionary innovations, said Edward Zander, the former CEO of Motorola, about his Wonder product. This one product was a huge financial success for Motorola. It was truly an innovation of monumental proportion. Or was it? Less than 4 years later, Zander was forced out of his own job. The stocks traded at 50% of its average value since the launch of Razr, and Motorola's competitors have easily surpassed Razr's specifications and functionalities with equally new and innovative phones. Motorola was once again rendered just another phone manufacturer. Like many companies before it, the company confused novelty with innovation. Many companies advertise their products as a new innovation, that it gives you an experience you've never experienced before, while in reality they are advertising a novelty, the latest shiny object. Once another company comes with a newer, better version of that product, the novelty is no longer special. Real innovation changes the course of industries or even societies. The light bulb, the microwave oven, the fax machine, and iTunes. These are all true innovations that change how we conduct businesses, alter how we live our lives. iTunes challenged an industry to completely re-evaluate its business model. A mobile phone with a camera is a great feature to have, but it is not industry or society altering. Motorola had simply successfully designed the latest shiny object for people to get excited about until someone came up with a new one. Think about all the hypes that used to change the world for a short period of time, but nobody cares or even remembers about them today. Remember the fidget spinners? It was the big thing to cure your boredom. We have nothing to do. But where have these fidget spinners gone now? Novelty can drive to sales, as we've seen with Motorola, but the impact does not last for long term. Inspiration. Any type of manipulation only leads to short-term results, but not long-term. If a kid used to buy a brand of cornflakes with a toy inside promotion, but today the company has decided not to give a free toy anymore, the kid will simply look for another brand. It's not that manipulation isn't a legit method. It definitely is, if your goal isn't to get a loyal following. The police manipulates by handing out rewards for those who can provide valuable information that leads to an arrest, and the reward is just high enough for people to take on the risks that are included. But because the police only works with the witness once to solve a case, it is simply a one-time transaction. Manipulation is then totally fine, aside from a moral point of view. But if you are a CEO who wants loyal customers and employees, a teacher who wants loyal students, or a parent who wants loyal children, inspiration is the key. The world's largest air traveling company got its reputation ruined by 9/11. However, there were thousands of loyal fans of the brand who donated to the company to support them. There was even a donation of $1,000 from a loyal fan that includes a letter saying, "You've been so good to me in the last couple years, I just want to help out." That's what a brand should be about. Even though the support was not enough to save the brand, it is the idea that people stay loyal regardless of whether the product or service is better or not. The idea that people disregard all the competitors' offers and even suffer inconvenience for that brand. As an Android user, I've always wondered why many people are in love with Apple products, almost to like a cult-like level. I've personally only had an iPhone once in my life, and I don't think it is any better than a Samsung or another Android device. Even though an iPhone is a little bit more expensive and a little less technically advanced as a Samsung, Apple fans will only buy an iPhone, regardless of what the competition has to offer. This is an example of how inspiration leads to long-term loyal followers. While most companies use manipulation to get transaction, Apple has been inspiring millions of people around the world. One day, you found out that one of your kids are doing drugs. The first thing you do naturally is to manipulate them with fear. You say things like, if you continue to do drugs, you're gonna die. Or even worse, you'll punish your child for doing so. But instead, you have to be straightforward and ask them why they need drugs and sincerely try to understand their reason, because there's always a reason why someone does something. Then explain that they don't necessarily need drugs to avoid their problems and frustrations, and that there are many healthier alternatives. Hey guys, if you guys found this video helpful, feel free to share this with a friend that could definitely benefit from this. Also, we have a video about techniques that salespeople use to let us buy things, so if you want to learn more about how manipulation techniques work, you should definitely check out this video. If you want to learn more about inspiration and leadership, I would highly suggest the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek. This book has allowed me to apply the things that I learned from the book into my personal life and not just business. It has taught me how to refine my why. By refining why I do what I do, it has allowed me to achieve the things I set out to do with less resistance. If what you heard is something that might interest you, feel free to check out the book by clicking the Amazon link down below. In order to improve yourself every single day, it is very important to expose yourself to high quality information that you can get from books. But with so many distractions nowadays like social media, Netflix, and video games, it requires a lot of willpower and focus to actually grab a book and read it. If you're one of these people, I highly recommend you to start listening to audiobooks. With the audible.com mobile app, you can plug in earphones and expose yourself to books while doing day-to-day things such as chores, walking, traveling, working out, or even playing video games. We at Self Improvement have teamed up with Audible to bring you a special offer to try Audible. Click on the link in the description down below and sign up for a free trial and get your first 2 audiobooks for free. If you end up disliking the service, you can cancel it at any time and the books are yours to keep.